The High Court order was while considering a petition against the appointment of 2 CPIM workers and 1 DYFI worker as non-hereditary trustees to the Sri Pookurthukalikavu temple in Palakkad district under the Malabar Devasam Board. The petition was filed by Anantha Narayanan and P.N. Sriraman. The division bench of the High Court did not accept the argument that DYFI is not a political organization. Ashok Kumar, one of the non-hereditary trustees, was a local committee member of the CPIM. Ratish was a branch secretary of the CPIM. And they both tried to tell the court that when they were appointed as non-hereditary trustees, they did not hold any positions with the CPIM. But the court has turned around and said whether or not you held a post when you were appointed or you hold a post afterwards, politics, people in active politics should not be appointed as non-hereditary trustees of the temples. And big judgment this coming through. Neetu Raghukumar now joins us with more details. Neetu, although they seem to have finished their term, the court has not quashed this petition, but this is a significant judgment. Will this now have a rippling effect over the Devasam Board appointments across other Devasam boards?
See, in Devasam Board, they have certain rules in place for the appointment. Now, in this particular case, it was also in the rule, it was also mentioned that they shouldn't be active in politics, but that was not looked into, is what we are understanding when this appointment was made. The respondents tried to tell the court that they didn't have any positions when they were appointed, and the positions came only after they were appointed. But court clearly saying that that cannot be accepted. Whether you hold a position or not, you were active in politics, and somebody who is active in politics cannot be appointed as non-hereditary trustees. Now, the term of these 3 people expired on February 20th, 2023, and so the court did not issue any writ quashing this order, but clearly told the Malabar Devasam Board to ensure that the appointment of non-hereditary trustee in the temple are done strictly in accordance with the directions and also the observations that they made here. So clearly saying that those who are active in politics, be it any politics, they cannot be appointed as non-hereditary trustees to the temple.
Now, will this have a rippling effect across other Devasam boards in Kerala? That's the other question, because now this order could be cited in terms of those who are trying to getting appointments as non-hereditary trustees, and if they are active in politics, then they should have to recuse themselves.
That's correct. If they are active in politics, they will not be appointed. But I don't think this is like a large-scale appointment of politicians that are happening under the Devasam Board temples, because in many times they are selected. There are even there are set rules for these devas to be followed, and
right.
This is one such rule, Anand.
Well, thank you for your inputs, Neetu. Moving on. And this is a Right Stand exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. And a day after he issued a threat to Union Home Minister Amit Shah and said that the Home Minister would also meet the same fate as Indira Gandhi, sources are telling your channel that Amritpal Singh's reaction comes as he is feeling isolated and rejected by the people of Punjab. This is what top intel sources are telling CNN News 18. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us this data and this input that Amritpal Singh is not getting the kind of support he expected on ground. He is actually being rejected. Amritpal's support in the radical groups also has gone down, and the community has started to understand that he's trying to become big without having any substance. In response to these actions, Amritpal Singh has announced an open war against the union government. He's also disputed the accidental death of pro-Khalistan leader Deep Sidhu. Agencies are seeing this as he's building a false narrative against India and the constitution of our country. His statement against the Union Home Minister Amit Shah is seen as a sign of desperation to gain lost popularity. Also recently, agencies have zeroed down on his funding sources from India and abroad. So he's feeling they're clearly clamped there. and cramped there. Amritpal Singh is isolated also after the arrest of his main aide, and an FIR against his close associates recently underway. Possibility that serious action will also take place against him and his associates in the next 2 odd weeks. That's what we are given to understand. But big news coming through, even as there were telltale signs of worry on ground that this person was rabble-rousing. He was going from Kasbah to Kasbah and trying to pose himself as the new Gen Bhindranwale. Let's go across to Lieutenant General KJ Singh, our former General Officer Commanding in Chief of the Western Command, Neeraj Atri, author, and Sanjay Dikshit of Jaipur Dialogues. Namaste, gentlemen. Jai Hind. Thank you very, very much. My first question to you, General KJ Singh, is there have been concerns raised about Amritpal Singh Bhinder, but now intel sources telling us that he's actually getting desperate because he's not finding traction even among the radical groups.
Jai Hind, Anand, thank you for having me on your show. See, Punjab last time also rejected terrorism. And there is a realization that only people who lost in that entire thing was Punjabis, the state of Punjab. Industry moved out, it went to Haryana and other places, and as a result, Punjab suffered hell of a lot. I was there as a major that time, and I tell you the times were bad. People had even changed their number plates on car. They were made in Gurmukhi, Punjabi. The girls were taking saffron dupattas. The prayers in schools had stopped, and religious prayers were being done. So it's a good thing that people in Punjab realize that this is not the time to waste in such questionable causes. They have no traction really. And somebody who comes from Middle East out of nowhere, who's funding him, who's supporting him, what is the grassroots support, and the people he's trying to get them released, the Balwant Singh Rajona, who's one of the so-called Bandi Singhs, he himself has distanced himself from him. He says, I have nothing to do with it. The Balwant Singh's sister has made this statement today. So here there is somebody who's a self-appointed protector of causes of Sikhs. Sikhs, I don't think, have much to do with him or people in Punjab. So it's good. I think intelligence agencies and other agencies must turn the heat on him, find out who are funding him, who are the mischievous elements behind him. And Anand, it happens periodically. They tried K2. There is a proper K2 cell in ISI.
Yes.
So it'll all be traced back to those people. So it's a good thing, Anand, that our agencies are vigilant, and it's even very good that people in Punjab are not giving support to him. I'm told political parties and others have distanced themselves from this rebel rouser.
So this rebel rouser finds himself isolated. General KJ Singh, I'm just going to take this to Sanjay Dikshit, but that doesn't mean that there aren't radicals or radical groups there. Is this a tussle for who will be the face and who will be the leadership? And this guy comes out all of there from nowhere from the blue, appropriates Waris Punjab Day, and then tries to portray himself as the self-proclaimed leader. He's not been appointed the head of Waris Punjab Day, but that doesn't mean there isn't support for Waris Punjab Day. There isn't support for this Khalistani bent and this thought process. Sanjay Dikshit.
Well, the taste of the pudding is in eating it. So I would wait for any action to happen. Because as far as this gentleman is concerned, Amritpal Singh Sindhu is only one spectrum of this, or rather, just one band of this whole spectrum, this Khalistani spectrum. And as far as your statement that there isn't much support for this, I suspect that ever since the new government has come, it is pandering to this kind of populism all the time. And since he happens to be just one band of the spectrum, the evidence that I have is actually the Sangrur election, in which you found the rabid Khalistani Simranjeet Singh Maan getting elected. And that has happened, within 3 years of an earlier election in which they had completely forfeited everything that they had. In fact, the last election, the total number of votes that Simranjeet Singh Man's party got was just about 60,000. And here he is getting elected. So where is the evidence that there is no support to the Khalistani narrative? My problem is that the state, whether it is the state means I take is that the entire establishment, the state as the entity, and that includes the central government as well as the state government. It has absolutely no appetite in countering the Khalistani narrative, because that narrative of all the institutions that you talk about, that narrative is also actively espoused and promoted by the SGPC itself. In fact, what you are finding right now is a competitive radicalization in which Amritpal Singh Sandhu is just one band of the spectrum. And if you're targeting just that one band of the spectrum, you're not really solving the problem. And then you also must remember that what happened with Bhindranwale, how Bhindranwale became Bhindranwale is when these successive actions, crimes were ignored. There were two factions within the Congress. Gyani Zal Singh was actively protecting Bhindranwale and promoting him, even to the extent of subverting the Chief Minister then, Darbara Singh. And that led to the situation when he was going to be arrested, he was saved, and finally the situation came to a pass when he went and occupied the Akal Takht. And all this happened over a period of about 3-4 years. So I will wait till an action happens against Amritpal Singh Sandhu, because if it doesn't happen, then that would mean that the state government particularly, which is in charge of law and order, is not willing to intercede with any of these different bands of radicalization, Khalistani radicalization that we find in Punjab today.
But the one caveat, Mr. Dixit, that it is not, I'm not saying that Khalistanis or radicals are not finding any traction. It's just that Amritpal Singh Sandhu is not finding enough traction on ground, and he is largely being rejected. But I'm with you when you say that he's just one band of the spectrum, and that's the worry, because the input itself says that even within the radical groups he's being rejected. So that means there is acceptance that there are radical groups, Neeraj Attri. And somewhere, would you fault the current government and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he removed nearly 300 of these Khalistanis who were on the watch list and in the banned list, and when he said, no, you can come back to your country? Has he actually, in good faith, triggered a revival of this Khalistani movement? Would you fault him there?
Yeah, not only that, Anand. My mind immediately goes back to what happened on 26th of February in the capital. That, when we will look back, I think that we'll mark that as a turning point when all these radical elements got a shot in the arm, because they felt that the government, especially the government at the center and partially the government of Haryana, which could have aborted all those activities, failed to take appropriate action. Now, this could have been done very easily at many points of time, not only at Singhu border, but much earlier than that. Unfortunately, the government let them run amok, and as a result, what has happened is those who were feeling that they are being sidelined, they are at the fringes, now suddenly they feel that since they are not facing that kind of opposition, or they are perceiving the state to be very weak, they are getting emboldened. And the second major event that I would like to add over here is when the Home Minister of our country, Amit Shah, goes to the house of Sidhu Moosewala after his demise. I mean, why should the Home Minister of our country be going at the demise of just an entertainer, and an entertainer who is fully sympathetic to the cause of Khalistan and all those disruptive forces? Once you start sending such feelers, then I agree with Sanjay ji that what is happening is that these radical elements are getting more traction. Unfortunately, they're getting more traction, and what state has done is, instead of taking the bully from the scruff of his neck, they're trying to pander to them, which is absolutely the wrong way of doing. But that is what has been happening for at least last 2 years, since that 26th February event happened.
Right.
So,
General KJ Singh, you agree, disagree with Neeraj Atri and Sanjay Dixit?
See, one thing I would like to put for consideration, that in Sangrur elections, it happened immediately after the Vijay Sampla incident. So there was a kind of a reluctance on part of voters to come out and vote. And Mr. Simranjit Singh Maan won by narrowest of, in the sense, I think he won with 16 or 18% of votes. So to give it too much of importance is also not correct. But I do agree that there is this funny or idiotic tendency among the youth to lionize the cause of guns, violence, and that is fueled by even singers and entertainers. So that kind of living on a high or living on an edge has been part of Punjabi culture. I would say that. But it's well understood by large sections of population that there is no case for a thing like Khalistan. It is not there. That support is not there. But Sanjay Dixit is very right that there is this competitive kind of extremism or taking extreme lines because you want to gather votes. So you have these factions in Shiromani Akali Dal itself. There is Taksali, there is Amritsari, there is Panthik. So how do they differentiate themselves? They take successive or kind of extremist line against each other. But I think the problem can be addressed. The central agencies are on the watch, and I would tend to believe that the state government should also realize that if they want to rule for their term, they cannot be siding with these elements. They will have to take a call on that, and earlier they take, better it is for Punjab. So Anand, I partially agree that there is a need to be careful because there are those elements. The band is white. There are different shades in that, and agencies are also vigilant. I know it. They are keeping a watch, and at the opportune moment,
here is the consideration. Here is the consideration, Sanjay Dixit. Today they are saying if there are elections right now in Punjab, there will not be a repeat of the results that happened. In fact, it would be quite the opposite. That's what a lot of people on ground are saying. The other part is that the current disposition there in Punjab, they have been accused of giving cover fire to these kind of elements and also breaking bread with these kind of elements. The Speaker of the Punjab Assembly has been caught on tape breaking bread with somebody who's a known Khalistani sympathizer over in Canada. So this has also happened. The other part is there is large-scale unemployment in Punjab. There is a huge economic distress issue and rural distress issue. There is drug menace which is there. All of this is a rich catchment area for those who want to foster these kind of narratives. Do you think enough is being done to counter this?
Let me first address that issue. You asked about those 300 people who were removed from the blacklist. Now, that is exactly the kind of signal that actually emboldens these kind of people. And I would say that I would largely agree that the general population in Punjab doesn't want Khalistan back. In fact, I have been in Punjab, I have moved around and have very many contacts in the Punjab police. And I remember in the 90s that the Punjab police, especially the constabulary, they actually used to remember those great days of the militancy when they had all the powers. Now, those are dangerous things. Now, what is happening is that the population is against the Khalistanis, but then if you don't support that population, then that population loses its voice. And the silent majority fails to speak up, then the space of whether it is the space for speaking, the space for doing things, all that gets occupied by these radical elements, even if they are just 5%. These 5% people occupy all the space. That's what my worry is, that's where Punjab is headed towards.
Right.
The silent majority is losing its voice. And sane people are getting intimidated to speak in the face of this competitive populist radicalization that is going on. Central government is not helping. The 26th January incident, 2022, I think.
20.
That was 21 actually. So that was a very, very bad signal. Similarly, releasing these 300 people, honoring that Dhaliwal character, not doing any significant optics when supporters who are supporting the Indian flag in places like Melbourne and Vancouver, not taking any overt actions, or even, I think we discussed this over one of the programs.
The significant optics part, I totally agree with you, Sanjay ji.
Unless you stress that, unless the state, the might of the state is shown to be in favor of the people who are against these Khalistan narrative, who are against these Khalistani radicals, unless you give them voice, unless you encourage them, unless you shelter them, unless they get the confidence that the state is squarely with them,
but
I think
that is something which has to be done at the state government level at the first, before the central
government level.
Yeah, central government will come in, but
a
lot of the law and order dynamics actually land up with the state. So we'll try and see if we can in the coming days get somebody from the Aam Aadmi Party government to also answer these questions and whether they consider this a serious one, especially the Home Minister in Punjab. We'll try and connect. But thank you very, very much, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, Sanjay Dikshit and Neeraj Attari. We have to quickly move on, ladies and gentlemen, here on the right stand to this big crackdown. It's somewhere related to what is happening in Punjab, this entire gangster group, and we had one of our panelists just refer to it, that they seem to be getting emboldened and they seem to be spreading their networks pan-India and doing a lot of aji-baji, not just drugs, guns, but also counterfeit. At all levels, these gangster groups seem to be being used to try and push a certain level of social unrest across our country, and that's why the Home Minister had turned around and said that gangster groups should also be considered under UAPA and equivalent to terrorist activities or OGWs. The NIA today conducted searches at 76 locations in Punjab, Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Delhi NCR region to dismantle this nexus between terrorists, gangsters and drug smugglers and traffickers based in India and abroad. A few of the most desperate gang leaders and their associates based in India and abroad who are spearheading and carrying out such terror and criminal activities were identified and booked in 3 cases registered by the NIA back in August 2022. The 5th round of these raids and searches is part of the NIA crackdown on top gangsters, their criminal and business associates who in Punjab, Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and are supplying and arms suppliers based in UP, Punjab and Delhi, followed the launch of investigations by the NIA against such organized criminal syndicates and networks. Now in Punjab, the NIA raided Abohar, Bhatinda, Muktsar Sahab, Moga, Ludhiana, Mohali, Firozpur, Taran. These were the places that were raided in Punjab. In Haryana, it is Gurugram, Yamunanagar, Rohtak, Mahendragarh, Sirsa and Jhajjar. In Uttar Pradesh, Bagpat, Bareilly, Pratapgarh, Bulandshahr, Pilibhit. In Rajasthan, the places were Churu, Bharatpur and the Alwar district. There were also raids in Gujarat, in Maharashtra. in Gujarat, Dwarka, Outer North, Central and Outer North districts of Delhi, NCR were also raided. So these were the areas where the raids were conducted. What was recovered? 11 pistols, revolvers, rifles have been seized along with ammunition. Incriminating documents have been seized. Digital devices have been seized. Cash worth 1.5 crore rupees has also been seized. Now let's quickly try and decode this entire gangster terror nexus that operates in our country and how Nepal and other routes are being used by these terrorists, come gangsters, come traffickers. So the conspiracy, the NIA investigations are revealing that there is a deep-rooted conspiracy amongst the terrorists, gangsters, and they were operating both within and outside the country together. Many gang leaders and members had fled from India and were now operating from foreign nations, including Pakistan, Canada, Malaysia, Australia, and some other countries too. The ongoing probes by the NIA also say that most of these conspiracies were being hatched from inside jails of different states and were being executed by an organized network of operatives based abroad. They are raising funds. So that is the next aspect of raising funds. The NIA is working to dismantle terror networks as well as their funding and support infrastructure. The investigations reveal that these gangs were raising funds to carry out such criminal activities through extortion, smuggling of drugs, Hawala network, and also weapons. Now, the execution part of it, the NIA investigation further reveals that gangsters and terrorists are spearheading or carrying out terror activities in India. So they pose as gangsters, but they are also aiding, abetting terror and trafficking activities. The gang members are also asked to carry out targeted killings, like what happened in Punjab and also in some other states of our country. This terror angle, the NIA probe is revealing that these gangster groups are creating widespread scare among the people. The gangs use cyberspace to publicize their crimes and create terror among the public at large. So this is a very, very organized network and aspect which is happening, ladies and gentlemen. And all this information, Arunima has been on top of it, getting us all these details. We're just putting it out here on the right stand. She's joining us live at this point. Arunima, so clearly a targeted crackdown and the NIA meaning business between August and January or February. This is the 5th such raid and this is across 76 locations.
Yes, and the total number of people raided are also going up. These latest round of searches that were carried out were based on the interrogation. You know, one question that has been baffling investigators is that if Lawrence Bishnoi is in Tihar, if Neeraj Bhawana is in Tihar, if Jaipuria is behind bars, then how is it that their gang continues to take supari, continues to do freelance work for Pakistan-based terror groups? Who's providing them with the money? Where is the logistic support coming in from? And that is why there are various rounds of searches that have been carried out. We are now told that the total cash recovered, the counting was on till the last hour or so, and the total amount recovered has now gone up to 2.3 crores.
Wow.
What they've also managed to ascertain, especially in the context of Uttar Pradesh, where these raids have been carried out, is the Nepal connection. What they suspect now, and this is being used in the past also for Indian Mujahideen, if you recall, when Yasin Bhatkal was nabbed, it was from the Nepal border also. Yes. So NIA and police have known for some time that ISI uses the Nepal route to pump in men as well as money, counterfeit as well. And now this route is being used to get supplies for these gangsters as well. So 2 arms dealers, suspected arms dealers have been raided in Pilibhit and Pratapgarh. And the suspicion is that they get these arms supply from Nepal. ISI sends it there. From there, they collect it and provide it to these gangsters. And these gangsters then carry out targeted killings. A kabaddi player was killed in a businessman was killed in Mumbai. How is it happening? That's the basis of the investigation of NIA at the moment.
Arunima, thank you for your inputs. We'll continue to keep close tabs on the crackdown and get you more details in the coming days. For the moment, moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a moment of pride for our country. It's historic, especially in the field of digital payments and transactions. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Singapore counterpart, Lee Hsien Loong, on Tuesday witnessed the launch of cross-border connectivity between UPI and PayNow, and they attended this via video conferencing. So how does this work? The UPI PayNow linkage, what does it mean? The UPI PayNow linkage will enable users of each of the 2 fast payment systems to make instant, low-cost fund transfers on a reciprocal basis without a need to get on board the other payment system. So the UPI PayNow linkage will allow hassle-free, real-time, direct transfer of money between India's UPI and Singapore's leading payments platform PayNow. It will also help the Indian diaspora in Singapore, especially migrant workers, students, through their instantaneous and low-cost transfer of money from Singapore to India and vice versa. Now, according to RBI, Singapore is among the top nations sending remittances to India after the United States, the UAE and the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that out of the total real-time digital payments that took place throughout the world in 2021, 40% took place in India. The UPI money transfer between India and Singapore can be done through a mobile app or even net banking. So how does this work? And this can be done only by participating banks and non-banking institutions. They have to be clearly identified and highlighted. Initially, the transaction would be maximum of $200 per day or $200 at a time and up to $500 per day. And slowly it will go up to 1,000 Sing dollars per day. Now, currently there are 8 financial institutions on this linkage. From the Singapore end, there are 2 entities, the DBS Group Holdings, which is a bank, and Liquid Group, which is a non-banking financial institution. In India, the banks participating in this linkage are Axis Bank, DBS India, ICICI Bank, Indian Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, and the State Bank of India. The Prime Minister, meanwhile, has called it a historic milestone and said that linkage will benefit citizens of both nations.
UPI पे नाउ लिंक का लॉन्च आज दोनों देशों के नागरिकों के लिए एक ऐसा उपहार है जिसका वे उत्सुकता से इंतजार कर रहे थे। मैं भारत और सिंगापुर के लोगों को इसकी बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, आज के युग में टेक्नोलॉजी हमें अनेक प्रकार से एक दूसरे से जोड़ती है। इससे दोनों देशों के लोगों को अपने मोबाइल से तत्काल कम खर्च में फंड ट्रांसफर करने में मदद मिलेगी। इस सुविधा से दोनों देशों के बीच रेमिटेंसेस का सस्ता और रियल टाइम विकल्प संभव हो पाएगा।
Let's now try and look back, and perhaps proudly so, the evolution, the history of UPI, an instant payment system that was developed by the NPCI. The journey began back in 2016 with the theme, a faceless, paperless, cashless system. The aim of UPI is minimalize interface, so minimalist interface, make it user-friendly, the experience, and of course financial inclusion through your phone or even by the click of a mouse. The agenda of UPI was to change digital payment landscape. The result of this is that India globally has the highest real-time transaction volume that constitutes well over 52% of all digital transactions taking place in our country. Now to the significance and importance of it. The UPI is the flag bearer of the ongoing financial revolution that we are seeing in our country, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because it is simple and individualistic. Paying and receiving payments is as easy as a single click or a swipe from the user's preferred app. It's innovative because adopting a UPI ID rather than entering bank account numbers and IFSC codes has made transactions very effortless. It's immediate through mobile, round the clock, 24/7 and 365 days. Banking, non-banking, doesn't matter. It's instant, it happens. Inclusive. The interoperability of the UPI demonstrates that once a user has signed up on UPI, they can immediately send money or receive it from anyone on the UPI system. Security. Virtual address for pull and push transactions is required. Digital landscape and connectivity, if you look at it, it's a cashless and ATM-free world for most and was a savior for many people during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, when everything was closed, UPI was still working, payments were still going on. Now, Bharat is also leading the digital payments revolution, ladies and gentlemen. The world is in awe on India's overall UPI revolution. Have a look at this. April 2016, the number of banks live on UPI were 21. The volume in millions was not there. Accountability was not there. Value in crores was not there. Jan 2016, so from April 2016 to Jan 2017, 36 banks, volume went up to 4.46 million, or the total value was about 1696 crore rupees. 1 year later, Jan 2018, the number of banks live on UPI jumped to 71. The volume of money went to about $151.83 million. Beg your pardon, 51.83 million. 15,571 crore rupees was the transaction volume. In Jan 2019, the number of banks is 134. The volume itself is 672.75 million, and the total value of the transactions is more than 1,09,932 crore rupees. That's the amount of money. So, if you look at this, Jan 2020, that number went up to 144 banks. Look at the value in crores. It's gone up to 2,16,242 crore rupees. And that number eventually by Jan 2023, so from Jan 2017 to Jan 2023, in a matter of just about 6 years, we've gone from 70 odd banks to 385 banks, and just from 1,696 crore rupees to, there you go, 12,98,726 crore rupees. That's the volume of transaction. That's the value of transaction, and the volume is 8,036.89 million. So clearly, it's a behemoth that we've created, and credit to all of us as a people of this country to have adopted and moved on to this form of digital payments and to UPI. Now, a memorandum of understanding has been signed between the Central Bank of Oman and the NIPL has enabled Indian RuPay cards and the UPI platform in Oman to facilitate seamless digital remittances to benefit Indian workers and professionals. And it's not just Oman. The collaboration has also happened with UAE. NIPL has partnered with Lulu Financial Holdings, Mashreq Bank and Network International in the UAE to enable UPI payments. Then in Malaysia, Mercantrade Asia has partnered with NPCI International to offer real-time remittances to India. This partnership has enabled Mercantrade and its network to connect to NIPL and facilitate remittances to beneficiary banks in India via UPI. Singapore, the centre believes that the integration of UPI and PayNow will allow residents of both countries to send cross-border remittances more quickly and cheaply. Next nation is Bhutan. NPCI International Payments Limited, the international arm of National Payment Corporation of India, or the NPCI, and Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan have partnered for enabling and implementing Bhim UPI QR-based payments in Bhutan. We are also doing with Nepal. Nepal became the first foreign country to deploy UPI as a payment platform, with the collaboration between Nepal's Manam Infotech and Gateway Payment Service, person to person, person to merchant and cross-border payments that have been made operational. We also have France. France-based payment services provider Lyra Network signed an agreement with NIPL allowing students and tourists to make payments through UPI. The UK, to further strengthen cross-border payment solutions, TerraPay and PayExpert signed with an agreement with NIPL. Under the partnership, Worldline's QR code-based mechanism will allow merchants' point-of-sale systems in Europe to accept UPI payments from Indians using their mobile phones. Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, all these nations, the NIPL has entered into a partnership with European payment services facilitator Worldline with the intention of expanding acceptance of Indian payment channels across Europe, especially in nations like the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, etc. Under this partnership, Worldline's QR code-based mechanism will allow merchants' point-of-sale systems in Europe to accept UPI payments from Indians using their mobile phones. Fabulous, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we're going to take a short break on that note, feel proud about what we've been able to achieve as a nation and what we are doing in the digital payments arena, leading and dictating terms. And then when we come back, we'll talk about this man, ladies and gentlemen, who struck a double whammy. He's taken questions and he's just stepped out of the pitch and hit them out of the park. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar's exclusive interview that has also set a fresh round of argy-bargy between the government and the opposition going. Stay with us.
At this point, an FIR has been filed in this particular case based on Sonu Nigam's statement. We have visual evidence also that how the incident unfolded on that particular stage while Sonu Nigam was getting off Police has not really made any arrest in this case at this point, but clearly now with the FIR filed, necessary action will be taken against whoever has in a sense, who is responsible or accused in this particular case. It also depends on how Sonu Nigam plays it out now. He's clearly mentioned that he lost his mind because there was a constant pushing and shoving happening from that person when he was denied that particular selfie, and that caused a lot of problem to his staff who was trying to protect him. In fact, one of the staff members also got seriously injured and could have been even further seriously injured if there was some material on the floor on which he fell from the stage. So clearly that has really upsetted Sonu Nigam, and that's why he's taken that step to file a complaint. And now since the complaint has been filed, the police will take necessary action anytime soon.
All right, Mihir, stay with us. Let's listen into more reactions that are coming on this story, including that of the police officer.
चेंबूर फेस्टिवल के लाइव कंसर्ट परफॉर्मेंस के बाद में सोनू निगम जी जब स्टेज से नीचे उतर रहे थे तब एक व्यक्ति ने उनको पीछे से पकड़ा। तो इस बारे में सोनू निगम जी के साथ वाले दोनों लोगों ने उसको बाजू करने का कोशिश किया। तब उस व्यक्ति ने दोनों लोगों को स्टेप से नीचे ढकेला। उसमें एक इंसान को इंजरी हुई। इस सिलसिले में सोनू निगम जी की एफआईआर ली गई, जिसमें आईपीसी सेक्शन 341, 323 और 337 इन सेक्शंस के तहत मामला दर्ज हुआ है। इस घटना में जिस इंसान ने उन्हें पकड़ा था और ढकेला वो स्वप्निल पाथर पे करके है।
Once again, the true face of the Uddhav Sena, which has now been reduced to a Gundo ki Sena, has come to the fore, with the MLA of Uddhav Sena, Prakash Fatarpekar's son, attacking Sonu Nigam and some other artists merely for a selfie. This shows the sense of arrogance, entitlement, and also the violent politics and the violent ways that are pursued by Uddhav ki Sena. It also shows that this is not a one-off incident, but a serial offender as far as violence is concerned. They have attacked a 60-year-old Navy veteran. They have attacked other people also physically and violently, and now this attack on artists, including Sonu Nigam. It only shows the mindset and it only shows the approach of politics that Uddhav Sena now believes in. This is complete political frustration, and it also is something that the people of Maharashtra have totally rejected. Today, Uddhav ji should tell us whether he will take action on this MLA, whether he will take action on the MLA's son, and whether such kind of politics is condoned by him or condemned by him. This is the true face of Uddhav ji ki Sena, and unfortunately, today, once again, we have witnessed the politics of violence and gundagardi that has now become the norm for his people.
Singer Sonu Nigam and his team were manhandled by a Shiv Sena member at a music event in Mumbai's Chembur suburb. The singer was performing at the festival when the son of a local MLA believed to be associated with Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena camp misbehaved with Nigam's manager Saira. The MLA's son wanted to click a photo with Sonu, and that's why he ended up going on the stage. The man then asked Sonu's manager to get off the stage, and when Sonu was getting down from the stage, the man ended up pushing Sonu on the backstage steps. Now, Sonu Nigam has filed a complaint at the Chembur police station, and there's shocking breaking news coming in from Mumbai, where Sonu Nigam and his team were manhandled by a Shiv Sena member at a music event. Our correspondent Mihir is joining us to give us more details on this. Mihir, what exactly happened at the event?
Absolutely. So this was a festival that was taking place, a cultural festival in Mumbai's Chembur area, where Sonu Nigam was part of the finale act. In fact, it was his performance that was, one of the highlights of the show. Now, after his performance at that particular festival, Sonu Nigam was actually trying to get down off the stage. That's when this gentleman approached him and tried to get a selfie. The situation was not such that he could have accommodated that, and his people around him, his aide and security guards, tried to restrain this person from taking that selfie, and that kind of led into a scuffle where a lot of pushing happened. In fact, Sonu Nigam himself lost his balance. One of his aides fell off the stage and hurt himself very seriously. He was taken to the hospital after the incident, and it turns out that this person was the son of Shiv Sena MLA of the Uddhav Thackeray faction, and that's when things got onto the social media as well. But as far as Sonu Nigam is concerned, he has clearly stated in his bite after filing a complaint that he was in a sense pushed, his people and his aides were pushed around.
Back on the right stand, ladies and gentlemen, and it is External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar's twin strike that will now dominate, and we set up the face-off between the BJP and the opposition as we play out two excerpts out of that interview, which was a tell-all interview. He kept asking the questions and he kept hitting them right out of the park. Listen.
The Congress party is saying that the Indian government the Modi government is defensive, reactive when it comes to China. That neither Mr. Modi nor you even mention China. You just say eastern neighbor.
Hello, please. Then they must have some problem understanding words beginning with a C. I think they are deliberately misrepresenting the situation. This whole I would say, again, I use this word, this narrative that somewhere government is on the defensive, somewhere we are being accommodative. I mean, I ask people, if we were being accommodative, who sent the Indian army to the LAC? Rahul Gandhi didn't send them. Narendra Modi sent them. Okay? We have today the largest peacetime deployment in our history on the China border. Okay? And we are keeping troops there at a huge cost with great effort. We have increased our infrastructure spending on the border 5 times in this government. So now tell me, who's the defensive, accommodative person? In fact, the question you should ask is, who's actually telling the truth, who's depicting things accurately, who's playing footsie with history? I think those are the questions which should be asked. There is a phrase, war by other means. There is also, think of it, this is politics by another means. I mean, you'll do a hatchet job. Then you want to do a hatchet job and say, well, this is just another quest for truth which we decided after 20 years to put out at this time. I don't know if election season has started in India and Delhi or not, but for sure it has started in London and New York. Just like I told you, this drip, 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 how do you shape a very extremist image of India, of the government, of the BJP, of the Prime Minister? Huh? I mean, this has been going on for a decade. Okay, let's not have illusions about it. Politics of India doesn't stop at its borders. Sometimes politics of India doesn't even originate in its borders. It comes from outside. Ideas come from outside, agendas come from outside. Otherwise, please tell me why suddenly, there's a surge of reports and, attention and views. I mean, were some of these things not happening earlier? You had to make a documentary. Many things happened in Delhi in 1984. Why didn't we see a documentary on that? This is politics at play. This is politics at play by people who do not have the courage to come into the political field. They want to have the Teflon cover saying that, I'm an NGO, I'm a media organization, etc. But they are playing politics.
Let's go straight across to Aparajita Sarangi, BJP MP in the Lok Sabha and also national spokesperson of the party with us this evening, and also Sanjay Jha, former Congress leader and political analyst. Namaste and Jai Hind. Sanjay Jha, who's playing footsie with history, being economical with the truth, and this is what is happening. Politics about India, in India, beyond its borders.
I think Mr. Jaishankar is sounding more like an RSS pracharak and a BJP spokesperson as opposed to being a foreign minister. The truth of life is this, and he should know better because he happens to be India's foreign affairs minister, that the BBC is funded by the taxpayers of Britain. And incidentally, the entire BBC documentary was based on a report, an official report of the government, the British Foreign Office. So at the end of the day, this is not some kind of a spiel or a spin of a TV channel. The TV channel's report is based on what the government's classified document, which they have used to create a larger narrative. What, by the way, if it is all balderdash, or indeed, what he believes is sensational political stuff, then why didn't the BJP or the government send their own spokesperson? The BBC, after all, was very clear that they invited the people of the BJP or the government to represent their side of the story. By the way, Swapan Dasgupta, who happens to be a former Rajya Sabha MP, I think he still is a member of parliament, has spoken pretty much at length to defend Mr. Modi and the BJP and the government. The larger issue is this, Anand. The 2002 Gujarat riots are a shame, are a blot on India's democracy. The Supreme Court of India at that point in time referred to the Gujarat government led by Mr. Modi as Emperor Nero. And we all know that Emperor Nero was celebrated for actually looking away when Rome burnt. And I think the insinuation was pretty explicit what the Supreme Court was trying to say.
So Sanjay Jha, the Supreme Court at that time what it said, and the Supreme Court now also said something. So how does that escape you? The same Supreme Court. One minute. Now the same Supreme Court said a lot of things. The question that was also asked is that the same elector, the same taxpayer who you say are funding or paying a license fee to the BBC, also have a party in majority whose Prime Minister has itself come round in Parliament said that I don't think this is the right representation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Prime Minister himself has stood there in Parliament and said it. So how come you are discounting that? And it's fantastic that you stuck to 2002 but skirted 1984 and you skirted the China question and the China aspect too. We'll come back to that. But the response, we'll come back to that. The response to what you have said by Aparajita Sarangi.
A very good evening. We have all heard our External Affairs Minister, and nothing could be more true than this. See, people like Rahul Gandhi, aided by certain NGOs and certain organizations within and beyond the country, have been trying very hard to shape a false narrative that the government of Prime Minister Modi is very soft towards China and all other things which have been kind of brought out by the Hindenburg report and even the Pegasus issue. Now here I would like to say very candidly, Pegasus issue emerged immediately after the Parliament session began, and again the Hindenburg report came just before the Parliament session started, and I can say that this George Soros issue came just immediately after the Parliament, to keep people engaged with another issue. So I think this is all an endeavor to shape a false narrative, and that is why I think the External Affairs Minister came down heavily on all these issues and all these people who have been kind of talking in this vein. And the fact remains that as far as India is concerned, as far as Prime Minister Modi's government is concerned, we have been very clear about our China policy, and there is absolutely no compromise when it comes to defending the sovereignty and integrity of the nation. I still recall just immediately after the Galwan incident, when some of our soldiers had died, were killed, and Prime Minister Modi had paid tributes to them, he said that we will always defend the integrity and sovereignty of the country and there will be no compromise. These were the words of Prime Minister Modi, and I think he stands by that. The entire team of Mr. Modi stands by that. And you can see the defense budget. The defense budget has gone up by 13% this year, 23-24.
So
it's
did it
5.94 lakh crore this year, and it was 5.25 lakh crore last year.
Aparajita Sarangi, your government had been in power for 6 years before Galwan happened. So it took 6 years and a Galwan for you to realize that you had to actually strengthen up your borders, the borders with China or the lines with the occupied territory, that where there is no border. What in 6 years? What was the attention? In 6 years, what was the attention that was? In 6 years, what was the attention that was given to Ladakh? What was the attention that was given to Arunachal Pradesh? So at that time, China was lost at all. So at that time, Sardar Patel's 1950 letter was ignored, was not remembered by anybody when he said that China is your biggest adversary. At that time, upping your border road infrastructure till Garhwan 2020 didn't happen. You had Doklam in 2017. So after Doklam, what did you do? These are fair questions to ask.
Yes, between 2014 and 2019, 2,731 kilometers of roads have been constructed by both NHAI and Border Road Organization. We need not forget this. And in fact, the budget outlay of the BRO organization has been increasing with every passing year. I have the figures and facts, and let's talk with facts. As the External Affairs Minister had so many facts with us, I think we need to be convinced if we give facts. 2021-22, 2,500 crore Border Road Organization capital outlay, and this time it is 3,500 crore. So I think development is a process. We are trying to strengthen our the force deployment there along the line of actual control, and very rightly he said it was Prime Minister Modi who had sent the soldiers and not Rahul Gandhi. The problem with Rahul Gandhi is he does not do his homework. He does not do his homework. He does not have his facts right, and he issues a statement. So I think he needs to be conversant with the subject, and only then he should be giving ideas.
But the problem here for us as a country is not what a political leader says or does. It's about what our adversary is doing. These narratives are not being shaped at the behest of Rahul Gandhi. These narratives are being shaped with those who have an agenda against our country. And if you are in power, you are the person who's responsible to make sure that such narratives don't happen within the academia. You want the Harvards to come to India, you want the Cambridges to come to India, you want the Yale to come to India, but what is the academia teaching them there? You are sending our bureaucrats to train there, especially when that academia stands exposed to with pushing this particular narrative. The government's bureaucrats are going to these countries, to these institutions, and they are coming back saying, "मैं Harvard जाके आया हूँ," but they are studying from the same academia who are actually peddling this narrative, who are putting out and contributing to reports like Freedom and Freedom, etc.
No, I think the intention of the government and the policy of the government is before everybody, and we know that we are very firm on certain matters. And as far as people like George Soros is concerned, let me say very clearly that these people are there within and outside India, and we are aware.
My simple question, ma'am, you have not been able to sort out the issue of academia, which is setting the narrative, and they are now coming to teach in universities in our country, where they are subtly trying to say, and that also stands exposed.
I think the message is clear by now.
So very clearly, ma'am, you may want to go out and pelt the opposition, but you also have to do some introspection as to how much you have done in the last 9 years to set this narrative right and against our country. It's not just against the Prime Minister or a particular government. I have to move on. I have to wind up. I thank you, Aparajita Sarangi and Sanjay Jha. Quickly, ladies and gentlemen, before we wind up, Javed Akhtar was there to commemorate the great poet Faiz in Lahore, and this is what he said.
मैं तकल्लुफ से काम नहीं लूंगा। हमने तो नुसरत के बड़े-बड़े फंक्शन किए, मेहदी हसन के बड़े-बड़े फंक्शन किए, आपके मुल्क में तो लता मंगेशकर का कोई फंक्शन नहीं हुआ। तो हकीकत ये है, चलिए अब हम एक दूसरे को इल्जाम न दें, उससे सॉल्व नहीं हो। ये अहम बात ये है कि ये जो आजकल इतना गर्म है फिजा, वो कम होनी चाहिए। हम तो बम्बई के लोग हैं, हमने देखा हमारे शहर पे कैसे हमला हुआ था। तो वो लोग नॉर्वे से तो नहीं आए थे, ना इजिप्ट से आए थे, वो लोग अभी भी आपके मुल्क में घूम रहे हैं। तो ये शिकायत अगर हिंदुस्तानी के दिल में हो तो आपको बुरा नहीं मानना चाहिए।
So Javed Akhtar there giving it back, and rightly so. On that note, we end this edition of The Right Stand. Zakar ready with brass tacks.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar today stuck it to Rahul Gandhi on his claim that India is afraid of China and that our soldiers are getting beat there at the LAC. He said it was not Rahul Gandhi who sent the troops there, it was Narendra Modi. This, according to the External Affairs Minister, is the largest peacetime deployment at the line of actual control. The Congress is saying that the minister is conveniently obfuscating the issue. After all, Rahul Gandhi is in the opposition. It's not his job to be sending the troops. It is the party in power that has to be doing that. It's going to be 3 years this summer when China unilaterally